It's Tuesday night. Time to talk some football. I am SAJ coming to you live from the Solo Serve Studios on Walsham Road. And this guy.
What's up, everybody? I'm BD coming at you from the FYP Studios.
FYP? What
Hope
the
y'all
heck is
having a good day.
Nobody even knows, bro.
Nobody knows.
Nobody knows. Guys, welcome. We're super excited to see all of you here. It is football season here in Texas. Apparently, it's always football season in Texas now.
Always football season.
So there is so much to talk about this week, and we're just going to go ahead and dive right on in. Let me make sure I bring up my stats page. First and foremost, we want to talk about a crazy week 9 in the USFL. I know last week we had talked about the USFL, and all the Southern teams were playing all the Southern teams, and all the Northern teams were playing Northern teams, right?
That's right.
Had some crazy stuff go on this weekend. So I was fortunate. I actually got to catch 2.5, almost 3 games, and I missed part of the Stallions and the Gamblers game on Sunday, but I did catch the Stars and the Generals game, which was an incredible game. We'll talk about that in a little bit. I did not see any of the Panthers and Maulers game, but I did catch the Breakers Showboats game, and that one wasn't really much of a game. But let's go ahead and dive into it. Brian, you want to kick us off with the first game of the week for week 9?
Sure, yeah. First game week 9 was the Panthers and the Maulers. Maulers beat the Panthers 19-7. Full disclosure, like I told you, I was out and about doing family stuff all weekend. I was stuck in a basketball gym with my son, had a tournament and all kinds of stuff. So I was relying on updates and stats and all that stuff. But
you ain't got to tell them that.
That's all right. Hey, you know what? Full disclosure. That's what I'm about. I'm about full disclosure here. So
what's up, soon to be Texas, Brian? Horns forward, baby. Let's go.
No, okay. But I mean, looking at looks like Pittsburgh pretty much had this game the entire way. First half they were up 13-0 and kind of like just coasted the rest of the way. Stat wise, not Jordan Love for the Panthers. He 19-33, 233 yards, one touchdown and 4 interceptions. You're not going to lose a lot of games throwing 4 picks like that. That actually sounds like Jordan Love.
Hey.
Are we sure Jordan Love didn't play this game?
You sure it wasn't Dak Prescott in a playoff game?
It could have been. It very well could have been. No, because it wasn't a playoff game. So
that's true.
It was a regular season game. Regular season game, he'll throw a bunch of touchdowns. Playoff, you'll get the interceptions.
Okay. I was going to say playoff games, all won in his entire career.
Yeah.
Damn.
I think he's won 2.
Shots fired.
He did retire Tom Brady, so there is that.
Yeah, he sure did retire Tom Brady. Keep patting yourself on the back, thinking that's what actually happened.
You know what? I will take whatever I can get after last season. So
yes, sir.
But yeah, so Maulers Williams, he was 14-24, 166 yards, 1 touchdown, but 0 interceptions. Rushing game, the Maulers, they had 97 yards on the ground. London was their big attack for 12 for 51. And then the Panthers, they had a paltry 50 yards on the ground, led by Scott, who had 9 attempts for 25 yards.
Wow.
So kind of, tail of the stats, you can see why the Maulers dominated that game. I mean, Panthers just weren't doing crap, basically.
Nope. And the one thing that had me a little concerned about that was that, every one of these games this weekend had some kind of playoff implication.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And so now things are still all mixed up. There's no clear runners, right? Anybody could still essentially get in. We'll talking about ouch. Brian's comment.
Oh,
That's brutal, but you're not necessarily wrong. However, again, we've talked about this. We've talked about this several times. In fact, I mean, we're talking about the USFL right now. The quality of the product is not bad. It's just missing key elements.
yeah.
One of which being the fans, right? How can you have a sporting event and have no fans there? Or even more insulting, only have a couple of hundred, right? For a home game? That's ridiculous. So I think that takes away a lot of the credibility of the USFL. If the USFL had fans in the stands, even if, I mean, I don't know, bus them in from the local college or whatever, fill the stands with people, it's going to give the game a better feel, and it's going to seem like a more legitimate product. I don't know.
Even the XFL with, Vegas Stadium and Orlando Stadium half full still looked better than the USFL games.
Your favorite stadium in Arlington had less than 12,000. They had 200 Brahmas fans there, and us 200 Brahmas fans brought the energy and made it seem like that was a home game for us, right? But that's what I'm saying. That kind of stuff makes a difference. That's where the USFL really needs to pay attention to what people are saying and capitalize while they still can, and try and start grabbing, find a stadium for all these teams to play in. Get the teams in those stadiums and get butts in the seats. There's believe it was the Generals game. I'd have to go back and look. I'm pretty sure it was a Generals game, but Generals, of course, were the away team. It was in Memphis or something like that. They were selling 50-yard line tickets for like $20 with a hot dog and a drink. Okay,
man, just those together are like 15 on their own, man.
Right. So if they had actual fans in, or if they had teams in their home cities, rather, we would not be seeing things like this. We would not be seeing these paltry numbers that the USFL is putting up. We're going to talk about it in a little bit, but I definitely have been watching the viewership numbers, right? And it's not horrible, but it certainly isn't a highlight, right? The XFL week by week was putting up better numbers every week.
Yeah.
And again, we'll talk about that when we get to the XFL, because there's several things that we definitely want to talk about with the XFL. Anyways, let's move forward to the Breakers and Showboats game. This is one that I saw, and it was not good. I'm not going to try and waste anybody's time believing that this was a real game. This looked like literally first string offense versus third string deep scrimmage. Okay. Nobody was really making any kind of big hits or big plays or anything like that. Memphis literally scored one field goal. That's 3 points. New Orleans ran up the score 17 points in the first quarter, 17 unanswered points. Now, they didn't do anything. They put up a big old goose egg in the second, probably because they were out having a smoke break and the third stringers were in.
That's why the Breakers that's why the Showboats got their 3 points, because the fourth string was in.
Yep. And then Memphis gave up the ghost after that. New Orleans scored in the third quarter and the fourth quarter, one touchdown each. Final score 31-3. Looking at the stats, Bethel Thompson looked good, but we know stats don't lie, right? We've talked about that a number of times. What you see on TV isn't always necessarily what's going on, right? Again, the stats do not lie. Bethel Thompson went 9 of 16, 56% completion rate, right? He threw for 88 yards, 92.7 quarterback rating. So he basically blew it up in the first quarter, maybe first half. And then they walked it the rest of the game. Okay. 106 yards. Hills had 18 attempts for 46 yards. Stove, one rush attempt for 29 yards. Hey, what's up, Jackie? Horns forward, baby. What's up? Then we had, I'm not even going to try and say I know how to pronounce this guy's name. Habibi Likio, 12 attempts, 27 yards. And then Bethel Thompson ran 4 different attempts for 4 yards. Boy, that's really breaking the bank there.
With the long of 5. So
yeah,
how many of those are?
Yeah, I mean he was killing it, right? So let's look at the showboats. Kelly went 23 of 41, 56% completion rating. Here's what blows my mind: 224 yards, 0 touchdowns, 3 picks. Had a 41.1 QBR. Absolutely trash. And I'm not saying he's trash, but that is a bad rating. That means New Orleans defense showed up to play and absolutely crushed them. Let's look at the rushing yards. 67 total, 40 of which came from their running back Washington. 18 from Kelly himself, and then 9 from K. White, right? They're not getting anything in the air. They weren't getting much on the ground. They pretty much got close to the end zone, and then that pretty much was it. Okay. Receiving, Dylan had 5 receptions, 51 yards. Longest was 17. Again, Kelly's total yardage, 224 yards in the air. None of it led to a touchdown. It led to 3 picks instead. So, not saying that Kelly's a great quarterback or a bad quarterback. I'm not saying anything about him in general. That day, he didn't do so good. So, that wound up leading to a not so fun experience for the Memphis Showboats. So, Brian, you want to kick us off on Sunday's first game that I definitely watched?
Yeah, and so I mean that was like I said, I was stuck in a gym, but I was getting updates from you for this pretty much throughout the game. Birmingham against Houston. Birmingham ended up taking it 38-15, but it seemed like it was pretty much back and forth for the first 3 quarters. Just both fighting, and then Houston kind of literally fumbled it away in the 4th, and Birmingham just went on a tear.
Yep. Houston did what Houston does. Okay. If you look at the times of possession, the Stallions had it for a little over 21 and a half minutes. Houston had the ball for a little under 38 and a half minutes. The score, Stallions 38, Gamblers 15. They had the ball for the longest time and just couldn't do jack with it, especially in that last quarter, man. Yeah. So we talked about this. Brian and I have been talking for a while about Birmingham's quarterback, how to pronounce it. We thought it was Mago, whatever. It turned out his pronunciation of his name is Magoo. That didn't look like Magoo at all.
No, that don't look like no Magoo.
No, apparently it's Magoo. But he did all right. He had a pretty decent game. Most of his throws were tight. They were controlled. They were crisp. He looked good throughout the whole game. But he went 13 to 21, 208 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 pick. And I saw that pick, and I was hopeful. It did not help Houston at all, though. Here's what's weird, though, right? 208 yards in the air, 84 on the ground, 34 of which came from their quarterback, right? So they're doing a lot of either busted plays or designed runs for the quarterback, which Memphis is in. I'm sorry, Birmingham is in, rather. They're 7-2. They can lose the next game and they'll be getting in first place, no problem. However, this close to playoff season, are you really going to risk your quarterback taking chances like that, having him run 34 yards 9 different times? That didn't seem like a very smart play to me, and I was questioning that on Sunday when I was watching the game. Their running back, Marable, 12 attempts, 32 yards. Let's kick over to the Gamblers. Behar, on paper, minus the interception, he had a pretty decent game. Again, he looked pretty sharp too, pretty controlled. The problem is he went 20-27, 149 yards total, and could not get a touchdown, wound up getting a pick. And then they pulled him and put in Cozart, and he went 4-7, 31 yards, right? Not very impressive.
Yeah. It was just kind of just mediocre numbers for both of them.
Mm-hmm. On the ground, they had 99 yards. Keep in mind, they had two guys that actually cost them 8 yards. Zuber, one attempt, -1 yards, and then Niswander, one attempt, -7 yards. And I think I remember seeing that play, and it was not good. He got swallowed up in the backfield. It was bad.
How do you lose 7 yards on a run? I mean, a sack, yeah, you see it all the time, but how often do you see a running back losing 7 yards on a run?
Normally you don't, because normally most running backs know to go down. I would say in this situation, the running back probably thought he saw something and figured if he could backpedal a little bit to break a tackle, then he'd have that lane. And that lane, if it was there, it quickly closed.
Yeah.
Or chances
how
are,
many times has that actually worked though? Hey, let me lose 4 yards to potentially gain some. I mean, it happens every now and then, but that's such a Hail Mary play right there.
Yeah. In Madden, all you got to do is hit X and up stick, and then you can do whatever you want. Bo
That's
Jackson,
right.
baby. But again, it was a great game to watch up until about the fourth quarter, when things just really started kind of falling apart, and it was just bad after that. The last game of the week, the Generals and the Stars. This one was a fun game to watch. This one was a battle. And Philly fought hard. They got down, especially in the third quarter, right? First quarter, Generals went up 10-7, right? Still within reach. And then second quarter, Generals tacked on another 7. Philly only put on 6, right? And then that third quarter, right, it got bad. It started getting really bad. That lead was getting away from them. Generals put up 13. Philly only put up 3. However, somebody said something to somebody, and they lit the burners. And Philly wound up getting 10 unanswered points, right? 17-7, but it just wasn't enough for them to get the win. But they were in that game the entire time. They were fighting. I mean, it was crazy. Looking at the stats, Cookus for the Stars, 25 of 39, 263 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions, quarterback rating 109. So
it's a good game.
He looked every bit of it, man. It looked good. I mean, it was a sharp game. So 263 in the air, 103 in the ground. The quarterback thing, 59 yards from your quarterback. No, not going into playoffs. I mean, unless in this situation where you're losing and it's not so bueno, you don't have your quarterback heading into the scrum like that, right? It's too easy for them to get hurt, and then you lose your guy. So not necessarily an agreeable play on my part. Flipping over to the Generals, the Generals had 3 quarterbacks in this game, and everybody had over 100 QBR. It's insane. Johnson went 15-20. Basically, he threw for 213 yards, no touchdowns, no picks, but he got a 109 QBR. Eccles Looper, I swear when I first saw that, I thought it said eucalyptus. He went 101, 14 yards. Okay. And of course, no touchdowns, no picks. And then Victor came in 101 for 1 yard, but it was
that 1 yard was a touchdown.
1 yard was a touchdown. So, but what I don't understand is he threw obviously for less yardage, but he threw for a touchdown. So how does he get a quarterback rating of 118 and Eccles Looper gets a quarterback rating of 118?
I was just looking at that.
That's weird.
Does the touchdowns not factor much into the QBR, I guess?
They should.
They
I'd
should
have to go back and look at how it's calculated, but maybe it's because it was literally 1 yard. I think you and I could throw a 1 yard touchdown pass if we had protection and a really great receiver. And
maybe, yeah.
We don't have to move. Otherwise, we're dead.
I'm dead.
Yeah. But 228 in the air, 147 on the ground. Now, Victor did take 11 snaps at running back and got 51 yards. That's not that great. And so what I'm noticing here, I believe it was this Generals game where they actually had a kickoff return, or maybe it was the Showboats game. I'd have to go back and look at the stats again. But like we had talked about in the XFL, right? Somebody was bound to break one off. And from what I was seeing with the USFL, there weren't a whole lot of people, really running them back. I think there's only been like 2 or 3 the entire season. And they had one again this last weekend. Same basic rules. I mean, they have the same rules as the NFL, right? Same lineup and everything like that. Whereas the XFL has the 20-yard offset, and both offense and defense are facing each other, and the kicker is the one who's actually running. I got to say, I like that XFL setup a little bit better, right? Because it lends itself a little bit better to player safety. And then the opportunities for the really big plays. Like if you can get through 11 dudes in the first 20, 25 yards, man, you're
pretty much gone.
Gone.
It took a couple of weeks, just like, man, this kickoff's weird. I don't know, but it grew on me. I started really liking it. I just thought it was kind of a cool kickoff setup. I don't know if I'd want to see it in the NFL, but I really like it for the XFL.
Absolutely love it for the XFL. I would not mind it in the NFL, but I can understand, back to kind of the purism of the game, if you will. I can understand why they wouldn't necessarily want to do it, but it would still
I don't know. The NFL keeps screwing up the kickoff so much. Who knows now what they do?
True. Okay. We're going into week 10 next week. Right? We've got a lot of playoff implications. So right now in the North is like the way our XFL South was.
Yep.
Where everybody had an opportunity. Okay. The Stars are sitting at 4-5. They could easily be at 4-6, which would then put, that could potentially put the Generals in, the Maulers in, and the Panthers in. Okay. Everybody's sitting at 3-6 in the North, except for the Stars. So literally every game is going to matter this next weekend. Now going to the South, that's a little bit tighter, right? Stallions have clenched. They're going to be in, but the Breakers are sitting at 6-3. So if they win, there could be a switching of first and second place. Then again, if they lose, there could be a switching of second and third place or second and fourth place.
Yeah, so you've got Breakers and Houston are playing each other. And I mean, Houston obviously has to win, and then you go into the whole tiebreaker scenario.
Yes.
And then what's Birmingham going to do? Are they going to rest? Are they going to, kind of let off the gas since they're already clinched? So
Birmingham's probably going to play their second. They'll play their first stringers for the first quarter, and then probably ride. I mean, that's what the smart play would be.
Yeah.
Now, this is the USFL, and much like the XFL, these are guys trying to get their big break to get into the into the NFL or get an opportunity to get
trying to get some look. So you want as much tape on you as possible.
Right.
You're trying to get that look.
Right. So there could be opportunities where they play everybody, at least 3 quarters. But again, every game that's going to be coming up this next weekend, and we will obviously debrief that here towards the end of the show, but every game is going to matter, much like what it did in the XFL, which is the way it should be, right?
Absolutely. It's boring to watch football when, it means nothing.
%. So let's kick it over to the IFL. And I did get to watch some of these games. I actually watched the whole entire Frisco Fighters game. And that was hang on, I'm sorry. We're at week 13. Yeah, because I was like, man, that opponent doesn't look right. But yeah, I did watch the Frisco Fighters game, and that, Brian, that was a hell of a game. It was very exciting the way indoor football is supposed to be.
Yep.
And I didn't get to watch all the games. Okay. But look, it's our friend Jimmy.
What's up, Jimmy?
right there. What's going on? And yes, 100% Frisco Fighters, right? We're Texans talking about football. We're going to be rooting for the Texans teams. So let's go ahead and break down some of the scores. Then we'll talk about that Frisco game real quick. Obviously, Brian, your favorite team didn't do so hot against the Green Bay Blizzard, right? They wound up losing 45-38. And, Jimmy, yeah, we're definitely going to get to that. Let us get through some of these scores first, and we're definitely going to want to talk about your comment there. But yeah, Quad City, the wheels fell off the steam wheeler apparently. And so they came up with an L this last week. Then we went to the Vegas Nighthawks, the Massachusetts Pirates. Vegas didn't do so good either, right? They lost 28-49. We also had some AFL action going on here. The Iowa Barnstormers beat the Tulsa Oilers 48-40. Then you had the Duke City Gladiators in what looks to be on paper a little bit of a slugfest on defense, but they lost 43-47. This Bay Area Panthers at the Rattlers game, I wanted to watch that, could not get the free time to do it, but that looked like that was a game. 70-63, that's all offense, and that's what those arena games are supposed to look like.
That's what I'm here for with those.
Yep. And then the final game of the week was Northern Arizona Wranglers at Strikeforce. They wound up winning 38-36. That's a close game, and those are low scores. I don't like that, so we're not going to talk about that. Let's go ahead and talk about that Frisco Sioux Falls Storm game. Jimmy, definitely I would have to agree with your comment here, right? No discipline by the fighters. Defense looked like they had their hands full against Sioux Falls. And the weird thing is Sioux Falls is 5-4 going into that game, right? Frisco was 8-2 going into that game. And I mean, they held them back, but that fourth quarter, man, it was just rough to watch, man. They were having a lot of issues. Right here, Jimmy's. There you go.
Get him, okay? Man.
Let them know. Their defense that fourth quarter, man, it was not the greatest. It's not what I expect from a 9-2 team, you know. I remember that. So what Jimmy's talking about is there was an illegal defensive call against the Frisco Fighters. They were lined up in an illegal defensive formation. That does come from that lack of concentration, as Jimmy's saying. Now he's saying there's eight illegal defensive calls. I don't know if it was 8 or not. I just remember one that was a costly one. But yeah, there was a lot of just like communication just kind of fell apart in the fourth quarter, and they really kind of struggled. But looking at the stats, let's look at. I love the IFL's website, but it does make it a little bit hard to get specific information. Here we go. TJ Edwards went 18-27, 213 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 pick. And then on the other side, what the hell's the name of their team? Sioux Falls Storm. They just have it as SFS. It's confusing. Brown went 10-22, 167 yards, but he threw 5 touchdowns. So they were getting to the end zone. But Edwards definitely helped out with 3 touchdowns. But he also rushed for 3 touchdowns. And then Martez Carter backed him up with another touchdown. On the Sioux Falls side, they only picked up 2 touchdowns from their quarterback, right? So it just was not enough to get the job done. But defense-wise, they were so check this out. Is that showing? There it is. Jimmy said Edwards is their backbone.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. And
I mean, looking at the stats, you totally see it. I mean, he's let him in. Obviously, passing, let him in rushing, touchdowns, all that stuff. So
he does everything.
yeah,
I'm almost wondering if he's out there playing defense also, because he's doing everything else. But here's one thing that I definitely want to highlight: 16 total penalties. 16 penalties against your defense, especially in indoor. That pretty much is a guaranteed you gave away a touchdown. You can't do stuff like that. Now, what I'm not seeing, do they have the penalties on their stats sheet?
I can't find it. I've kind of been looking for that just to see if there was any kind of breakdown of it, and I'm not. Oh, penalties, yards. Frisco had 15 penalties for 111 yards, and Sioux Falls had 3 penalties for 25 yards. It doesn't break down whether it's offense or defense. It's just total penalties.
Gotcha. Yeah. So again, Frisco definitely came out to play. They were definitely rocking that game, but the penalties, that shaky fourth quarter, they won, but they almost
they won. At the end of the day, they won. We've said it before many times. A team faced adversity. It happens in football. How do you get through that? And so they were able to get through that. It was kind of a crappy game, a lot of penalties, a lot of bad plays, a lot of stuff they shouldn't have done. But at the end of the day, they fought through it and they won a tough game. So, kudos to them.
Yes. So now let's take a look ahead at week 14, because again, we've said it before, a lot of these games matter. This right here, the parents, make sure you hide your kids for this next comment. Like, lock your doors and your windows, right? Hold your loved ones tight. Jimmy's moving to San Antonio. That's scary. Jimmy, are you going to be a Brahmas fan, or are you going to, still represent your Arlington Renegades? That's the question of the show. But
hide your kids, hide your wives, because Jimmy's coming to town.
Jimmy coming to town. Well, Jimmy, if you're coming here for a visit or you're moving here for good, you're always welcome to San Antonio. We'll always have a spot for you at the tailgating. No way. I will definitely want to look more into that. See, this is one of the things that Brian and I talked about. One of the reasons why we wanted to highlight the IFL, besides the fact that it's football in Texas, but that the IFL does feed players into the XFL. Which
yeah, they're all going to each other.
Yeah. And I have not found a connection with the NAL and any next tier organization such as USFL or the XFL, but there could potentially be connections there as well, right? So again, we want to watch, these players develop from high school all the way up to professional. If we get lucky enough to catch one or two of them and we get to see their entire career, that would be phenomenal. I missed what this Jimmy's friends with somebody's wife. I don't remember.
Smitty's wife.
Oh, okay, cool. And so she told him. That's awesome. So
that's good for him. That's great.
Definitely let him know if you guys are friends with them. Let them know that we're going to be rooting for him. We do hope that everybody gets. Here you go, Smith number 1. Okay, we do hope that everybody gets an opportunity, and especially playing for a legend like Hines Ward, or I hate to say it, because this is a South Oklahoma guy, but Bob Stoops, or even our friend Wade Phillips, over in stinky Pasadena there. We want everybody to get that opportunity. I mean, this is these young men's dreams. Right?
Oh yeah.
Who among us here didn't want to be a pro football player when they were young, or some kind of pro athlete? Yeah. And it wasn't even necessarily about, we didn't even really have a real good concept of how much money these folks were making. We just wanted to do something that we loved for the rest of our lives. Well, that's what these kids are doing. So we want to make sure that, we're providing them adequate media coverage that we can and doing our very best to cheer these guys on and, keep them in our thoughts and prayers as, they try and push and break the next barrier to continue that dream. Right. Here's the other thing I absolutely love about these opportunities. You've got a guy. Look at this. Jackie wanted to be a woman ref, and you would have been one heck of a ref, Jackie, except you probably would have yelled at people and scared them a little bit, and that's okay, But again, watching this, watching these players develop and everything, who knows if we're watching the next Kurt Warner or not, right? There could be
Jack.
Nice.
That's right.
Nice. As long as you don't start him, Jackie. That's all we ask.
Exactly. Don't start him. Just stop him.
Or finish him. I mean, however you want to do it. That's up to you. But again, remember the Kurt Warner story, right? My wife was fortunate enough to be in St. Louis when all of this went down. When Kurt Warner got picked up. God, I can't even remember the arena football team he was on. I want to say it was like the Barnstormers or something like that. But he got picked up by an Arena League team because they needed somebody. He literally was bagging groceries at an Aldi in St. Louis, Iowa. Barnstormers. Yep. Right there. See? Thank you, Jimmy. And then from there, somebody in the Rams organization saw him and was like, we need to talk to that cat. Because, I mean, he blew it up in the Arena League. And before that, after his college career, like there was nothing there, you know? And so he was just extremely fortunate to get that call to play at Iowa and actually develop his arm and his talent and, let it fly. And then now look at him. Hall of Fame quarterback. He's an an NFL analyst. He's got the storybook career and after career. So we could be watching one of those guys develop right now. Right. And so that's what's so exciting about this is getting to see some of these kids as they progress through their careers and what they could potentially become. Again, we could be watching the next Deion Sanders. We could be watching what is his name? The overrated quarterback. Why am I not thinking of it? I'll think of it eventually. Yeah, the number one overrated quarterback of all time. I cannot remember his name. Leif Garrett. Yes.
Leif Garrett.
Yeah, I think it was Leif Garrett.
You mean Ryan Leaf?
Ryan Leaf. There you go. I knew it was something Leaf, right? Nissan Leaf. I don't care what it is. The guy was overrated.
Leif Erickson.
Whatever. Eric the Red. Here's another one. Okay.
Yep.
But again, a lot of these guys didn't have that opportunity. They didn't have the AFL. They didn't have like the Canadian Football League or European Football League. I think it's actually ELF, European League of Football or something like that, because it's European and
they're weird.
Yeah, they do everything differently there.
Yeah.
But the point is, there weren't these second and third tiers for players to develop, and now there is. And so now, I'm excited to see what it's going to do for the NFL level of play. We may be getting back to that quality of player like we had talked about several episodes ago.
Yeah.
Right? That's what I'm excited about. We may actually see people with true character and that are truly humble and are grateful for their opportunity because they had to work so damn hard for it. Then again, we may also see super egos too. It's hard to tell.
You're always going to have the super egos. I mean, we had, Keyshawn Johnson throw me the damn ball, back in the
Kilo Johnson.
That's right. I mean, you're always going to have that, but I mean, yeah, you see these players, the ones that are fighting and scrapping, trying to get in, those are the ones that I root for more than any of them because you see how hard they're fighting, how hard they want to get back into it. And for us, like you said, for us to be able to watch them all the way through from any arena leagues, the the XFL, USFL, whatever, onto the NFL. It's awesome.
There's two guys in particular. Austin Prohl, I definitely want to see what happens with his professional career because I know he's got the fight. I just don't know if he has the size. And so I would love to see an underdog like that succeed. And then I hate to say this, Jackie, you're going to love me for this, but I believe the Cowboys drafted a running back. That's like 5'6" or 5'8". 5'8" isn't so bad, but 5'6" is kind of tiny for the NFL.
Yeah.
And the guy is an absolute...
Unless you're a quarterback for Arizona.
Ouch. Look, you leave Mr. Stilts alone. Okay? Poor guy. Must suck smelling armpits all day. But it is what it is. Anyways. Is that who it is, Jimmy? The player that
Deuce Vaughn, yeah.
Deuce Vaughn? Yeah. I'm going to be keeping an eye on him because, again, underdog, right? I like seeing those underdog stories. I like seeing people who have the cards stacked against them and absolutely do not quit. That's what we're looking for. Anyways, let's get back on track. Okay.
We were on a track? What?
We were. Week 14. We've got a lot of games in the IFL. We're starting to get to where all these games are going to matter, right? We're starting to get into playoff implications and things like that. So you got the Quad City Steamrollers going against the Iowa Barnstormers. And I'm assuming that the Iowa Barnstormers are going to take that one. Look at that.
Yeah. That was the one that. his dad called and said that he was getting drafted.
Okay. So
I think we talked about it. It was just a really cool moment.
Okay.
The draft.
That's the Austin Prohl story because Prohl's dad was part of the coaching squad in St. Louis. So, and then what's his name with Pittsburgh? Now his dad wasn't part of his dad wasn't part of the staff anymore. But still.
But he's still
right?
Pittsburgh.
Yeah, he's still Pittsburgh through and through.
Yeah.
So, okay, Quad City against Iowa. Iowa's going to take that one. Sioux Falls against Tulsa Oilers. With the way Sioux Falls played this last weekend, I'm picking Sioux Falls to win that one. Going into Saturday evening, you've got Frisco going against North Arizona Wranglers. That should be Frisco all day. Northern Arizona has been struggling. I don't see any way that they're going to be able to win this game. And then for the sleepy time game, San Diego Strike Force against Tucson Sugar Skulls. I say sleepy time game because neither team is really doing that great. I'm going to say San Diego's probably going to eke out a win on this one. The Sugar Skulls could surprise me, but the way they've been playing, I don't know. Bay Area Panthers on the really sleepy time game. They're playing the Vegas Nighthawks. That one's going to be hard to tell, right? Because Vegas did lay a pretty nasty loss this last week. But they haven't been playing bad. So
they've been okay, but I'm picking Bay Area for that one.
Okay, we'll see. It all depends on if they go out the night before and party.
There you go.
AKA San Antonio Brahmas. Jerks.
We don't want to talk about that.
Okay, and then the last game is going to be on Sunday. The Rattlers at Duke City Gladiators. That should be the Rattlers all day long. Again, old school AFC or AFL team. There's no reason why they shouldn't win that one.
Did you pick Iowa to beat Quad City? Did I hear that right?
I did.
Okay. Iowa, the 2-9, is going to beat the 7-4 Quad City.
Yeah, they can't let me down.
All right. Well, I'm gonna root for the team with the dumbest name in the league and go for Quad City. But
I'm calling on the powers of the AFL to power Iowa through that game. Okay. Just because they're playing at home and it's the Iowa Barnstormers, they may be the Barn Floppers. We'll find out next Sunday, or next Saturday rather. Okay, but that pretty much wraps up Week 14. And again, right, we're starting to close in on the.
We only got 5 weeks left in the IFL, so I mean.
Yep. Now,
and there's not a lot. There's not a lot of games separating the top few teams in the league. I mean,
Yeah.
You look at the stats. I mean, it's, Frisco's up, they're 9-2, but you got Green Bay, the fourth team down at 6-5. So they go on a run. Frisco kind of loses their composure. The whole divisions can flop. So
it could be that Green Bay brings home a championship, considering the Packers can't do it.
It'd be nice for y'all to get one.
Ouch. Yeah, and then if you look at the Western Division, the Panthers, Rattlers, and Sugar Skulls and the Wranglers are all within a game and a half of each other.
Yeah, so, and you're 3 games away from the top to the bottom is 3-game difference. So, you got 5 games left. So you go on a run, you go on a little losing streak, then you're suddenly, Bay Area is suddenly out of the playoffs.
Jimmy seems to disagree with you. He's saying it's going to go the Fighters for a clean slate.
They might
the rest of the way.
I didn't say Frisco was going to tank. I said if they do
tank.
Yeah, not tank, but if they lose their composure. I don't see it happening.
If they drop any games, it's going to be over for them.
You got Massachusetts right on their heels, so they're 1 game back.
That means nothing, Jimmy. That means nothing. Okay, so let's kick it over to the NAL. And the Gum Chewers had the week off this week, and there were still some pretty good games. Well, I take that back. No, there weren't.
I'm looking at this. No, there weren't.
Yeah. Albany Empire did not do so hot against the Predators. They wound up losing 24-68. Okay. Again, 68 you expect to see, not 24.
I mean, you combine the Empire and to look ahead, the Mustang scores, put those scores together, and they both lose to the Predators and the Sharks.
Yep.
How much they sucked last week.
The Predators or the Sharks. Yeah.
Yeah.
Easily. Well, hell, they almost would have lost to the West Texas Warbirds.
They would have tied the Warbirds. It would have been a tie game.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's bad. But so, yeah, Albany's been struggling, especially, and I have to believe that our friend over there in New York with, I'm going to suit up, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. All right. I've got to believe that has led to some of this fiasco that is the Albany Empire.
It has to. Just bad juju follows that guy around everywhere.
100%.
Just stupidity and horribleness follows him.
So there is absolutely no way those guys are going to do anything this season. I'm hopeful, right? Because there's only 7 teams in the NAL. You don't want to lose a single team. But I definitely don't want to see Albany fold because of loudmouth. You know what I mean? Like that would just be embarrassing. So fingers crossed, hopefully, they can finish out the season on a high note. Maybe, they're not going to get, a good run. They're out of playoff contention pretty much. Cause we're already not really. I mean, they could, in essence, turn it around. But we're going into week 11 and there's only 17 weeks. And so I don't see them making that big of a run. I mean, that's almost unheard of, but it could happen. Let's see what happens.
So you're telling me there's a chance.
Yeah, there's always a chance until there's not a chance anymore. Fayetteville Mustangs versus Jacksonville Sharks. Fayetteville did not do so hot themselves. They lost 35-63. Jacksonville Sharks are looking pretty sharp right now. And so yeah, that was kind of to be expected. This next game, I absolutely did not expect, right? Because West Texas did not play bad at all. They just didn't play at all on defense.
Well, their defense didn't play at all. Their offense put up, 59s. It's a respectable score, but their defense was just like, nah, not today.
What did Carolina put up, Brian?
Dude, Carolina, they put up 86. 86, the highest score in the league this season.
Now, some of you older cats like me are probably going to remember, but on the PlayStation 1, I believe it was. They had a game called AFL, right? It's Arena Football League. And you had all the teams, and you had the Orlando Predators and Jacksonville Sharks and the
That was the Kurt Warner AFL AFL game.
Yep.
Yep.
In that game, you could maybe put up 86 points. But in a real game, I can't think of a team. I'm looking at the scores. The highest I'm seeing even remotely close to it was like 73. They put up 80, 86. Okay. That's insane. I want to look at these stats. I want to see what Carolina's quarterback, what his final stats wound up being. 24 for 30.
God.
306.
10 touchdowns.
73 yards. Okay.
373 yards on a 50-yard field. 10 touchdowns.
On a 50-yard. Yes. Now, how many did he run in himself?
He didn't run any. They ran into separately, but he didn't get any.
Yeah. He didn't even have to run any in. That's just insane. 10 touchdowns.
Golly.
That's 60 points by himself. That's just, I mean, these are unheard of numbers.
We got a kid over with the Warbirds with just a paltry 5 touchdowns.
Yes.
Get out, man. You're not even in the same league as Henry.
That's so sad that we're saying a paltry 5 touchdowns.
A paltry 252 yards and 5 touchdowns.
Yes.
Like get out of here, you bum.
That's Hall of Fame NFL quarterback numbers. And he's a bum in the NAL. But anyways. So going back to the schedule. Actually, let's talk about the standings. Okay. Gunslingers, of course, are on top 6-1. Jacksonville Sharks are right on their heels at 6-2. Then you've got Carolina Cobras looking at 5-2, and then Fayetteville Mustangs at 4-4. Everybody else is in the dust here. Okay. West Texas Warbirds are only 1 game better than Albany at 2-6. It's not good. Okay. But things are going to be tight.
This week, I mean, Gunslingers are playing the Warbirds, and it was a close game last time they played a couple weeks ago. And, Warbirds might have something to say after that 86-point thrashing they got. So this might be a tough game for the Gunslingers.
Jimmy, looking at the schedule, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or 6.
Well, at home, I think it's just 3 games at home.
Oh yeah, at home, I don't. That's going to be easy to count.
Last we played the Mustangs, and then 3, Cobras on the road,
3.
Predators on the road.
Yeah. So, okay. Well, that week, then
we're on the road.
Yeah, we're on the road, Jimmy. So we won't see you at the game. But that's okay. We'll be around somewhere, maybe at a watch party or something like that. But that being the case, again, this next week, you've got Jacksonville going against Albany. Should be Jacksonville all day long.
Yeah.
Carolina Cobras against the Orlando Predators. That's going to be a good game. Okay. We are going to be, I'm sorry. I forgot about the West Texas Warbirds, San Antonio Gunslingers. We're going to be there for that game for sure.
Yep.
And 1, 2, 3. Just 3 games this week.
Yeah, just 3 games this weekend.
And they're all on Saturdays. That's weird.
Well, Sunday's Father's Day, so
that's true. And then week 12 is going to be funky. They actually have a Monday night game. So that's going to be interesting. But okay. So that pretty much wraps that up. The NAL is officially put to bed. Okay. What? No way. No. They've got technically got one now. It's in the AT&T Center up there. So let's talk about some XFL news. Okay. What's been going on in the XFL, Brian?
There's been a lot. Well, I mean, obviously, the biggest news.
Real quick. I just want to say how much I love the XFL. It literally is the gift that keeps on giving. Every week there's something to talk about, and it's just right there. Okay.
So, I mean, the big news from the last couple of days, obviously, Rod Woodson and the Vipers mutually agreed to part ways, as in the Vipers said, we don't want you no more. And Woodson was probably saying, good, I don't want to be here no more. So it's funny that you say that. We actually, in the XFL Brahmas fan page that we have, we were talking about it, and I made a little quote. And so it's XFL. Mr. Woodson, we'd like to talk to you about this year's performance evaluation. Woodson, F this place. I'm out of here. XFL, we agree. Have a nice day. Yep. That's probably pretty much how it went.
Right. But I think it's important to note that it was a mutual agreement, okay, that Rod Woodson and the XFL both decided it was in everybody's best interest for Rod Woodson to move on, okay? Now there's speculation about who's going to be coming in. And there's nothing that's been confirmed. Nobody has said anything. It's still way too early to even be thinking about any of that. But, Brian, who would you like to see take the helm over in Vegas?
I mean, my boy from the Albany Empire, Antonio Brown, should go over there. How would you? Antonio Brown and coaching in Vegas. Come on now. Are you not entertained?
That has like category 4 hurricane natural disaster.
Absolutely.
Okay. But it might be fun for good TV watching, right?
That's all I'm here for.
Okay. So there's speculation. A couple of different names have been thrown around. Jimmy, sure it was wink, wink. It 100% was a mutual agreement. I don't think they would have said that if it wasn't, but who knows? We weren't there. We're not part of the organization. We don't know.
It could have been, kind of just save face and stuff. And, you see it happen a lot. Like everybody knows that they're not coming back. And it's just, we mutually agreed to, Yeah.
Now
you see it a lot.
Right. I will say that there's also speculation because of poor performance, poor attendance, poor field conditions, pretty much poor everything. That there's, some rumors going around about the future of Vegas and Orlando. Yeah. None of that's been confirmed. And we're not about to speculate here and give any kind of false information or anything like that. Nobody knows what's going on right now except the XFL and Danny and DJ. And they're keeping it close to the vest. And rightfully so. It's their organization. Okay. Wow. 100%, Jimmy. That's probably what happened.
Yep.
So, again, nobody's telling us what's going on. Okay. We're just going to have to wait and find out until something gets leaked somewhere. Most of the speculation we've seen in the XFL is not anything more than just speculation. Okay. That leads me to the next thing I want to talk about. Brian, I'm sure you saw the Forbes article, correct?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Okay. What were your thoughts about that?
I mean, yeah, I don't think they're not the Forbes article one, the NFL lost $60 million this past year, but they expect to be money positive by 2027. I mean, none of the investors, I don't think, should have expected a brand new league, first year out of the gate, to be financially successful. That you always have to like put in a couple of years of losses before you get a return on your investment. So I'm not concerned by it. It doesn't, I don't think the league's going to fold or anything like that. You see all the doom and gloom and skies falling on the Facebook post of that article. I don't think that's the case. I mean, they have a plan. They expect to be, positive by 27. So they're planning on this league going that long.
Yep. I think Dwayne Johnson's response to that is the absolute perfect response without coming out and just flat out calling the author of the article out from the Forbes magazine. Okay. 100% Dwayne Johnson said that they lost money. They expected to lose money.
Yeah.
And the number is really not that startling. Now, granted, for folks like us, $60 million is a big deal, right?
Yeah.
My kids would be able to live off of $60 million. Okay.
But The Rock, he can go make another, Fast and Furious movie and make that. So
yeah, I mean, that's pretty much folding money at this point for him. Okay. The point though is that just like Jimmy's saying, right? You've got to establish your fan base first. And that's what I think the focus was this first year. Get the product out there on the field, get people interested, get people to watch and become invested, and then start really marketing the team, which I think they're going to do next year, right? We've already seen some of the marketing. A lot of us commented on how surprised we were about how little marketing there was this first year. A lot of the marketing.
I don't think you showed it earlier, but like Jimmy said here, marketing, it sucked. There wasn't a lot of it. And, especially as big as the TV packages, the ESPN, all that stuff that we had, you would have thought it would have been more. But maybe, maybe it was they were trying to be more homegrown to build it naturally before putting a heavy focus on marketing, Well,
let's think about it. Let's think about it. And in fact, our friends over at the Horns Forward podcast are actually doing a series talking about just this, the super fan. You and I have discussed super fans here on our show as well. That's your built-in fan base, right? All the word of mouth advertising that was done by like folks like you and myself and everybody at the XFL Brahmas, sorry, the San Antonio Brahmas XFL fan page on Facebook, right? Shout out to Warren and to Andres and Donna and the whole rest of the group, Jorge, DJ, Jackie, of course, if she's still on here, right? All the folks that are doing all the work behind the scenes. There's a million more I can't even think of it. Dirty Toro, everybody that has been doing their part for the Brahmas, and I'm sure other people like Spurgeon up in St. Louis, Arlington over in Houston, which is weird to say, right? There's all these different fans that are doing work behind the scenes. How much of that has the XFL paid for? What is the price tag on that, Brian?
I mean, what have they paid for it? Zero, because I haven't gotten any money for it. You haven't gotten any money for it. But I mean,
zero. How many fans have shown up because of people like you and I and like Jimmy and stuff like that?
Oh, I mean,
thousands.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Thousands. I mean, just getting the group together and kind of the whole put on the fan fest. Just before we didn't know anything. We had nothing from the league. Say, hey, we're just going to do it. I mean, it's all been homegrown, which is great for the league. I would like to see them put more into marketing, but you've got the groundswell from the first league, the super fans, those of us that are passionate about it, and then you tack on the marketing here after the fact, and you just keep growing.
Jimmy actually brings up a good point here, right? We do have limited limited teams here in San Antonio right now. The only thing that would have been competing with the XFL was going to be Spurs basketball, and that's it.
That's it. And Spurs were tanking this year, so it's not like they were a good watch. So
right, Dallas has obviously the Mavericks. They have the Stars that were in the playoffs. Baseball was getting ready to start, so you had the Texas Rangers.
I mean, the Mavs suck this year too, so Rangers always suck.
It still draws, right? That in combination with no marketing in a bigger city like Dallas or Houston, it's going to have an impact, and it's still pulled numbers. So next year, once they have that established fan base, right? Because right now they're doing the push for season tickets. By the way, folks, if you haven't gone out and gotten your season tickets for the XFL, please make sure you contact your XFL reps. Talk to them about pricing options. Talk to them about, different potential, payment options and payment plans. Get your season tickets. Make sure you're there for opening day kickoff, and be ready to cheer your home team on as they destroy the visiting team. Hopefully, Brahmas.
Unless it's the Brahmas.
Yeah, Brahmas killing St. Louis again, hopefully in St. Louis, but we'll see what happens. And we're going to that game, by the way. But again, make sure that you guys are supporting the XFL, right? This is not going to continue if we don't have fans like yourselves going out there, buying the season tickets, being, part of the fan organization, if you will, and doing your part to support your home team. Okay.
And not just that. I mean, it's a hell of a lot of fun. It's not just not just do your part, support your team, but especially tailgate is fun. It's a blast. You meet great people. The games are fun to watch. It is a really, really fun time. So
it is an absolute hoot, especially when people like Brian and myself, those guys bring some of our rowdy friends and take it up a notch, right? It's really fun. It's extremely fun when you, as the super fan, have to look at the person you brought and be embarrassed because you brought that person. Okay. And we've had that happen.
We had that happen.
We have had that happen. But it makes for great stories. Okay.
It does. Absolutely. We've got some great stories from this past season.
We do. And we plan to have a bunch more great stories. But again, get your season tickets, contact your season ticket rep. If you don't have a season ticket rep, reach out to one of your friends, reach out to us. We'll help you find a season ticket rep.
I mean, they're making their rounds on the team Facebook pages. So, go find them. If you can't, then ask somebody on the Facebook page and they'll direct you in the right spot.
100%. But to go back to what we were talking about, and I almost don't even remember, next year, once the season tickets have been sold and they know kind of where their core constituency is, then they're going to start hitting the marketing pretty hard. I'm willing to bet, right? Because they'll have those built in. They didn't have that this year. They didn't know who was going to be buying tickets. Teams like the Brahmas in a city like San Antonio that kind of expects greatness right off the bat, it's going to be a little bit of a struggle, right? Teams like, Houston, that was part of the XFL 2.0, Arlington, part of the XFL 2.0, St. Louis, of course, right? They're going to have that critical mass. We're still kind of working on it, but we're going to get there, right? And I really believe that next year we're going to have a better team. Coach Ward has already said he's got some ideas in mind, some things that he's going to be changing, some ways to revamp the team. And we still don't even know what's going to happen with the players that are going to be coming back to the XFL or the new ones that are going to be getting drafted in.
I mean, we've got the rookie draft in 3 days. So,
yeah. So we could be talking about a potentially whole new crop of players, right? Maybe this year we get it right. Maybe this year we make the run. Who knows? But that's why we watch it, for that excitement, to see those opportunities. Again, back to what I said earlier in the show, to see that player. That's the breakthrough player, right? The Kurt Warner of this generation, something like that. This is where it's all going to happen at. And that's why we're so passionate about it. So again, that being the case, make sure that, you're getting out there, you're supporting your club and getting your season tickets, find your gimmick. If you want to become a super fan, get loud, get rowdy, have fun with it. Okay. Because that's what it's about, right?
Absolutely.
Now, that being said, there's a couple of other things. The XFL is going to be around for a while. I've seen it in a couple of different groups now, people commenting on, their fears about the XFL folding. The XFL is not going to fold, okay? The XFL, DJ said it himself in his article. They've got investments that are going to cover the league. If a single dime doesn't come in, they've got money to cover the league for the next 5 years.
Yeah.
Now, they don't want to do that, okay? That's where we have to step in. That's where advertising has to step in. And that's where, these TV execs and the TV deals that they have are going to need to step in, right? Get us better coverage, get us better schedules, get us more primetime coverage, and the XFL will sell itself. And
this year was very much experimental. It was them seeing what worked and what didn't work.
Yes.
So
P.S. It's not the experimental football league, and it's not the extra fun league. It's just the XFL.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah. But they'll take what they got, what their their results from. Hey, maybe a 8:30 on a Sunday night game isn't a great idea, but
on Easter.
Yeah. Or game on Easter but they know what they're doing. I mean, these are smart people. These are people who have invested and made a whole lot more money than we will ever see in our lives, and they know what they're doing. They're smart people, so they're taking everything that they looked at, what worked, what didn't work, and they'll implement what worked, and they'll take away what didn't work. So this is nothing but moving up for them.
Yes. Now, I'm trying to find the article while I'm looking for this article. Again, I think it's important to note that now that the XFL has kind of established its legitimacy, that it's not, in fact, going to fold after 4 or 5 games or even a season. I think we're going to have better opportunities for better scheduling next year, along with more advertising dollars. And I think we're going to see the true power of the XFL this next season. Okay. Better, sharper, meaner, leaner, more polished version of the XFL this next year. Okay. So be on the lookout for that.
Absolutely.
Now, we've talked about it a couple of times, right? A lot of players going into the NFL from the XFL. I believe there were 22 as of last week that had signed NFL contracts, to be in some part of an organization. Now, that doesn't mean that they're going to start. It doesn't mean they're even going to be there come kickoff in August. But that's 22 players that have signed that. I saw an interesting article today, and I cannot find it. But they actually had a player that signed with the CFL. And I want to say he was a Houston Roughnecks player. I've got to find the article. But again, opportunities, right? That's what the XFL is there for, is opportunities for players to continue their dreams. Now, this player played good enough to get into the CFL, which is not really any step up or down from the XFL. It's just different, right? The fields are a little bit wider. The end zones are longer. It's still a 100-yard field, but it's like 65 yards across. And those end zones are I think, 15 or 17 yards deep or something like that versus the 10 or 12 that the NFL is. But again, these are opportunities. Now, that player that signed with the CFL, right, he's going to have a struggle trying to get into the NFL because he's going to have this gap, this huge gap, because the CFL pretty much runs almost the same schedule as the NFL, right? So he'll have about a month off after the CFL season concludes. But you're already going to be 2 months into the NFL season. So where's he going to get put? So he may wind up having like 8 or 9 months off, before he gets a chance to even try out for a team. So that's going to be interesting to see that develop.
I'm looking for that article. I see I guess in 2020, Sergio Castillo from the Roughnecks signed with the CFL.
Maybe that's what it was.
I'm not.
But
Yeah,
it
I'm not
came up as
seeing
a new
anything for
article.
this year, but
It came up as a new article.
hmm.
So, but that's fine. Again, right? There are on XFL Newsroom's website, they've got a featured article featuring a defensive end that's going to be available in the XFL draft. And that's the stuff that you're going to want to watch, right? So, pardon me. There are going to be a lot of potential, diamonds in the rough in this group
Oh
that's
yeah,
getting drafted on Friday. So it's
I'm
going to be great
looking
to
forward
see
to it.
how all that develops. So, yeah. I think that pretty much covers it. NFL news. The only thing we really have to talk about is, and this is a Southern term, right? Bless their souls, but the Minnesota Vikings. What are they thinking? Brian, what's going on?
I don't know. I have no idea.
There is no reason on God's green earth why you would drop a player like Dalvin Cook. He was not at the point where he was being unproductive or a negative draw to your team. Okay. He was still a productive member. I had heard rumors that the Cowboys were in talks to make some kind of a trade, player and a couple of draft picks, right? So he still has market value. Why did Minnesota drop him? That makes
I'm looking,
no sense.
He's 28 years old. So he's not at, pretty much 30 is that's when running backs start to drop off. He's not there yet. He's still got a couple more years.
Yep.
I don't know. I don't know what they're doing.
Okay. Well, I just saw an article that actually scares me a little bit. The Bears supposedly are in the hunt for Dalvin Cook. Okay. If the Bears get Dalvin Cook with the weapons that they already have, could very easily.
That'd be very scary.
Yes. They'll run the North, and they could very easily be a playoff contender just based on numbers and stats and stuff. We actually don't know. I mean, these guys could just go out there and just absolutely lay a goose egg. We have no idea. But any team that gets Dalvin Cook is going to be a serious threat.
Oh, okay? It's an instant upgrade. I mean, he's, how many running backs in the league would you say are better than him?
Not very many.
A couple, maybe you could make the argument for, but he's definitely in the conversation for best running back in the league. So I can't explain what they're doing. Maybe they decided that we're not going anywhere, so dump our assets and tank.
Yep. Dalvin Cook, as of 2023 stats, he was ranked number 10 out of all 32 starting running backs. Okay. Tony Pollard was considered better. Aaron Jones, Saquon Barkley, Josh Jacobs, right? Your bigger names, McCaffrey, Chubb, right? But again, there weren't very many. So you've got a guy that's
top 10, that's just rushing numbers, right?
Yeah, just overall rushing numbers.
Yeah, but that doesn't take into account, the total yards from scrimmage, the passing, all that stuff. There's a lot more that Cook does. He was, their biggest threat last year.
So again, you've got a guy that's arguably top 10 easily.
Yeah.
Jimmy's saying 5 maybe. Okay. Somewhere between 5 and 10 that are better than Cook, and you cut them. Why? Right. That's a question that only Minnesota is going to be able to answer. Maybe they see something in one of their draft prospects that gives them exactly what they had with Cook for a lot less money, and everybody's battling the cap, right? So that's going to be important. So, but again, it's going to be interesting to see how the NFL already, right? We expected big news from the NFL, when Rodgers went over to the Jets and absolutely nothing happened. And there's no way we saw this one coming. Okay.
Nope,
so there's our
not at all.
surprise. There's our surprise. And I'm sure that that's not going to be the only one this season. But so that pretty much covers that. Okay. Because there really isn't much going on in the NFL right now. The OTAs haven't started yet. Mini camps are going to be finishing up in the next week or so. And so we'll start seeing where some of our XFL players land at. Hopefully some of them or most of them make the cuts. We'll just have to wait and see though. I do know that our guy Parker Romo is still killing it over in Detroit. I really wish he was at a better team. I've said that three times since he signed his offer there. But God bless him, more power to him, man. If he can make it, incredible.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay? USFL, serious weekend this weekend, right? This is where, it's
final weekend.
It's going to come down.
Yep.
Okay. IFL is going to have some really great weekends, some really great games this weekend, some playoff implications. Make sure you're watching that. NAL, our gunslingers are going to be in the Coliseum. We're going to be there to watch that game. And we're going to be booing the who are we booing this week?
The War Chickens.
The War Chickens.
Yep.
Okay. I'm going because I want to see if their mascot shows up and what kind of trouble he's going to get into with the captain. That's what I'm going for. Everything else doesn't even matter. But again, another great football weekend this weekend. Make sure you got your eyes peeled to the TV, to Facebook, to YouTube, where a lot of these NAL and IFL games are going to be broadcast at. And that's pretty much it for Texans Talking Football this Tuesday night.
Yep. I don't got anything else.
Okay. Brian, you want to give him some kind of a sign off here?
Well, thank you everyone for watching, for participating. We hope you guys have a good week. Thanks for checking us out, and we will see you next Tuesday. Coming at you from the FYP studios. I'm BD.
And I'm coming to you from the Solo Serve Return Counter. And I'm SAJ. And we are out. Horns forward, baby. Let's
Later.
go. Where's my music?